I would like for everyone who is listening to this video, please pay extra attention, because when you understand it just a little bit, it can really change your life. There is no such thing as form and the true existence of what it is. Everything is what you call formless substance. It means it's only potential. It's only there. Whatever we want to call it, it's just there. The only time that we humans experience something taking form is when it hits this 3D world that we're in, which we called it up. It's formless until we give it form through our thoughts, our visualizations, and our asking, so to speak. So if everything is formless substance, it means that the potential exists for everything that is imaginable or unimaginable. There is nothing new under the sun. Knowing a little bit of this, it makes it possible for you to understand that you can create anything that you desire now through your powers of thought and so forth, because your thoughts are also, I'll say, a form of formless substance. Now, I'm explaining all this with my limited human intelligence. And the reason I say that is because we humans, we just really don't know that much in the physical form. Let's put it that way. But getting back to the subject, everything is formless without form. Everything can be formed through our thoughts and with our thoughts. And think about this for a moment. If this is the case, then formless substance needs us to fulfill its expression, and we need formless substance to fulfill our expression. So it's a co-op, if you will. Now, some people call the formless substance God, and it's mentioned that formless substance is intelligent and alive, which would make sense because it can morph into different things. So it all makes sense when we get down to it. I'm not going to go too deep in this, but the takeaway from this is, since formless substance does exist and we have the power to give it form, let's make that form profitable for ourselves and everyone else involved. Because once we do that, then we're all moving forward. Let me put it this way. We're all moving forward in unison for something better and for something bigger than ourselves. There's one optimal way to attain freedom by doing simply two things. One of those things is controlling your choices. It's as simple as that. If you can control your choices, you can control what comes into your life and what doesn't. This includes people, situations, anything involved in life. Control your choices, you control the world around you as far as what enters. And the next thing is control your responses or your reactions. Freedom is nothing more than learning to control your choices and learning to control your responses. Because you cannot control what happens external of yourself, but you can control what happens internal of yourself. This is the power that we individuals have as a birthright. We seldom know how to master this power because we're focused on the outside things that happen and focus way less on the things that we can do internal to control our own lives. Thus, we remain victims or fall to the illusion what is happening outside of us. The one who controls their choices and their responses is also control of their minds. And absolutely nothing that this matrix system that we live in does will hinder you or take you off course or make you do things that are unwise and unnecessary. So what's the takeaway from this video? Freedom is not a flag waving in the air or an anthem or showing patriotism or believing in some individual who makes you promises and don't keep them, or following suit because you want to be a part of the crew. Freedom is learning to control your choices and control your responses. But then you are actually and really free. Not free of what happens, but free of what happens inside of you. Mr. Devil, thank you for taking the time for this interview, a private interview upon your request. I'll get right into my questions. Mr. Devil, tell us, who are you exactly?
I am whatever you humans want me to be. Whatever you conceive me to be, that is what I am. I am the destroyer, I am the one who tempts you and makes you create this thing that you call sin. But for the most part, most of you humans have no idea who I am because you do not take the time to find out who you are.
Okay, Mr. Devil, that's a very interesting perspective. Mr. Devil, tell me, what do you think of humans, or us humans? What's your perspective of us, please?
I find that most of you humans are what you would say cowards, because you take no responsibility upon yourselves. Every time that something goes wrong, you put it on me. You say that I am the cause of your failure or your shortcomings, as what you would say, but you never consider that it is you who made your decisions. And if I am involved in any way in your life, it was you who called upon me through your own decisions.
I see, Mr. Devil. Mr. Devil, where do you actually reside? Where do you live? Where's your place of rest?
Where do I live? Just like the one you call God, I live everywhere and nowhere at the same time. As I mentioned to you before, I am anywhere that you wish me to be. I am in your head, I am in your heart, I am in this place that you call a church. I am wherever you choose me to be. And if you choose that I do not exist, then I do not.
Okay, Mr. Devil, and one final question. What piece of advice would you give to us humans right now?
What you humans should do is look in this thing you call the mirror, and that which you see in the mirror, that is the one or the person or the entity whom is responsible for your life. If you do not see me in the mirror, then I have little to nothing to do with your life and the cause of this thing that you call your reality. So therefore I say to you, let me be in my place, whether it be imaginary or real, and I shall let you all remain in your place.
Okay, Mr. Devil, I would like to thank you for this interview, and I would also consider having an interview with you and God simultaneously if that is possible. And if I'm sure if people have further questions that they can contact you at any time. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this interview with Mr. Devil. Have a great day. I am somewhat surprised that God did agree to come here on the set. And with that, God, I say welcome here in the studio.
It should not come as a surprise to you that I'm here, because you already know that my presence is what you would call omnipresent. Therefore, welcoming me here is quite useless.
Yes, God, but of course you know this is just how we humans express ourselves. But God, actually, when I think about it, what should I ask you? You already know everything anyway.
Nothing is based on knowing. It is all based on trust. This is the signal that I continually send everyone that life, as you call it, is simply based on trust.
Yes, God. But one question I really would like to ask you is your power, things that are formed the way they are, Earth. Why does Earth actually need humans? Why are we even here?
This, of course, is not a question to ask another. This is simply a question to occupy your own mind with in order to gather a certain type of perception. And then you take it from this course. Now, be well aware that I speak to you in a way that humans shall understand me. And when you do ask yourself these questions, you will be taken automatically into the next phase.
Yes, God. Are you actually here, or are you not here, or everywhere and nowhere? Or how should we perceive you, God?
You all shall perceive me in the way that it fits you. There's not one special way or regular way to perceive. That is up to each individual themselves, and with that you develop your own individuality. And as I have mentioned before, then you take it from there and you shall be automatically propelled into the next phase of your life.
God, maybe I am out of place for mentioning this, but a few days ago I had an interview with the devil, and he mentioned some interesting...
Yes, I'm well aware of that, and he did not give you the information exactly that you were searching for, because he is not the person that you think that he is. He does not chase after you and attempt to make some sort of negative life for you all. You all call upon him, thus he appears and gives you only what you ask for. This you must understand, and then you will also be a bit enlightened of how things work around you and with you. Because you humans, should I say, are always calling. You are always summoning things. Things do not just come to you randomly. You have a stake in what you ask for, and these things shall be given to you in life.
Okay, God, and I think that with that, this ends the interview, and I guess I should thank you that you were here and for your presence, if I can say that, and it would certainly be a pleasure to have you back on the set one day for subsequent interviews. And maybe we can arrange it so that you are here doing an interview together with the devil God, if that is possible. Thank you.
What is possible? Possible is merely a term used to state that everything is possible. Thus the word possible itself. And with that, I must be moving on and at the same time moving nowhere.
Imagine this for a moment. The great mind, all-knowing, all-powerful, and infinite, spread across the great void. And the great mind says, I'm going to express myself. So then came the command, out of darkness, let there be light. And it is because of expressions that we humans are here. Our physical state is an extended expression of the great mind. With my limited human understanding, I am going to attempt to explain, or should I say rather talk about, the very misunderstood and underestimated term of I am. That which is beyond explanation and at the same time simple to understand, if one is in the right frame of mind. So when we say I am, what is the I representing? The I is representing existence. Existence, just existence. And the am is representing everything. So you could look at it as though it would be everything already exists. This is very important to understand when we start to deal with things like affirmations. You know, when you say something to the effect of, I am, and then you say a word, for example, I am grateful. But you wouldn't say something like, I will be grateful when, because that pertains to the future. And the great I am is focused on present, now, is. And why is it so very important to know that? Well, think about this for a moment. When people pray, there was or should I say there is a phrase that says, O great power, teach us how to pray. I wonder why it would say that. Probably because people do not pray correctly. Let me give you an example. Someone drops down on their knees. They put their hands together and they begin to say something like, O great power, help me to find a way. Please show me where. Please help me to see. Now, what you have to understand is that when you pray this way, what you are acknowledging is that you don't have the solution. But that can't be true because I am. Everything already exists. So then comes the question, if everything already exists, then where is it? And that's the question right here. But here's the answer. The answer is in that you don't ask the great powers to show you a way. What you do, since already everything is in existence, you give thanks for whatever it is you are speaking of. You just simply open up and give thanks because whatever you're speaking of is already in existence. It's already here, there, everywhere. And this is the very contradictory part about people who are seeking holiness and enlightenment. They say that they serve a deity that is beyond all and has created all. But yet the prayer is, find a way. So when we are thinking about the I am concept, one should also think about the phrase of, I shall not want. What does that mean? It means that you have no need to be in want because you already have everything, because everything under the I am, or should I say in the I am, is already in existence. One of the things that beliefs don't teach is that you don't need to follow beliefs. It's basically a guideline. So a lot of times certain things are not talked about in detail, like the I am. The thing about us humans is that we try to physically understand what I am means, and we cannot. Because if you just say to yourself these two words, I am, what your brain does, it expects a third word. And then it tries to look for logic to fill in the situation. It tries to figure out the situation through logic. But we all know that the great mind, so to speak, does not handle on logic. What it really handles on, we don't know, but it works. And what works in the great mind, or you can say the spiritual, is way above our physical understanding. That's why words like faith and trust came in, so that you wouldn't try to understand everything. You would just believe it because of experience, or because of you seeing it being worked before, or because of you seeing it being worked for the first time. Imagine if you walked down the street and then you asked someone, excuse me, could you please tell me your name? And they said, I am. You'd be waiting for the next sentence. And you'd be thinking, okay, well, who are you? And they would say, I am. And then you would ask, what or who is I am? And that person would say to you, I am that I am. What that person just told you is that I am the I am, which is the I am, which is that I am. In essence, the person just told you that everything, I am everything. I am has no definition. The definition is the word after you say I am. I am thankful. I am grateful. I am happy. And you notice it's not a, oh great power, help me to find a way to be happy. Just show me the way to be grateful. There's no need for that because all of it already exists. And if we humans would stop trying to understand everything, you see, what we humans often do, if we really don't understand something, is that we will try to personify it. We will try to add personification to it. Personification means when you give something human-like qualities where it has nothing to do with humans. And this is what we try to do with, let's say, God or the Great Way. What we automatically try to do is to break it down to where our brain understands it. Which is why there is much truth in this saying. If you can talk about it, that's not what it is. Because we humans are breaking it way down from its original source. And anytime you are dealing with the spiritual, there's absolutely no need to attempt to describe it because that's not what it is. Because it's way above our 3D reality and it's way above our brain trying to put it in a category in this 3D world. So what's the takeaway here from this video? Once you understand that you really know nothing as a human, and that which you know is very little. Because the life that we live is based on trust. It's based on I am, and it's based on this thing that we just call believing. And life is not some coincidental thing that is not aware of what it is. Look at the very word, life. Life is alive. Life lives, which means it is conscious of what it is doing. We are the life. We are that. We're not separated from life. We are an extension. So therefore, if life is intelligent and all-knowing and all-powerful, and we are an extension or an expression of that, it must mean that we are that too. And then you ask the question, well, how? Well, we have been given the gift of mind. We have been given the gift of thought. We can form energy by our thoughts. You see, because mind is what you call static, but we can make it dynamic with our thoughts, and we can make it dynamic to the degree of how we wish to or how we will. But at the same time, we are not above the great origin of power, the I am. If you are a wandering mind like me, then you've certainly asked yourself at some point or another, how can I detach myself from this system, from this man-made superficial system, from this fake system, from a system that's, well, just about ruling and control and maybe even brainwashing? How can I detach myself from this? And what I'm speaking about is just how I see it and what I do in the journey that I take. I believe the first thing that one has to realize is their own personal power. I speak of personal power in certain videos because personal power is that which you have as a birthright. And I'll say it again, as I've said in other videos. No matter what's happening in this three-dimensional world around us, no matter who is in so-called control, everyone has their own personal power, which means that everyone has the ability to think, to decide, and to compare certain situations. And this is the very thing that the system tries to downplay in humans, because the system does not want you to be empowered enough to know that you can decide for yourself. The system doesn't want you to know that your thoughts form your reality. Because once you understand your personal power, then you are your own person, you are your own man, you are your own woman. You have the capability of critical thinking, thinking rationally. This is why the first rule of life is called know yourself. It doesn't mean know yourself as a person. It means know yourself according to your capabilities, what you can do, what you are equipped with as a person, a mind. Know thyself, and then you know the world. The next thing you want to do is just to get away from the news. Ask yourself the simple question, if you are old enough. In the last 10 years, what have you seen on the news that's actually good for the people? You can even go back 15 years. You can go back 20 years. You can go back further than that. I think the question is obvious. And the answer is also obvious. And the answer will be the same, actually, no matter how far back you go. And also, get away from the political system, because that stuff is not intended for anything profitable for us humans. There's a different agenda that has absolutely nothing to do with improving and the upliftment of humans or of human beings. All you have to do is look what's happening every year. There are promises made, and then the exact opposite thing happens. What that is called is brainwashing. It's called taking over your mental mind. And this is why I go back to my first statement of how to detach, is to know who you are, to know that your mind is yours, and that you can protect your mind in knowing that you have personal power. I can't stress personal power enough. And stop giving your power to these external authorities. Religion. I know I'm going to make some people angry, but I really don't care, because there's no sense in just believing everything that you hear. Am I coming down on religion itself? Of course I'm not. But it's just the delivery and the intent from certain organizations. And I always believe that what religion should teach is that we are all capable of leading our own lives, and we come together as one for the good of us all. But we don't follow individuals blindly just because they stand and speak of something and they say that a great power told them something, and now they have to tell you that. I believe the great power doesn't tell one person anything. I believe it speaks to all of us simultaneously, just in different ways. And the last thing I'm going to say is just develop some mindfulness. Have the ability to check out and understand a situation that's in front of you. Have the ability to act with logic. Have the ability to ask yourself, is this something that's going to be good for me moving forward? Not just good for my mind, but good for my whole person. And if you don't feel good about it, this is what we call intuition. We have that. It's personal power. Don't just blindly follow things because someone says you have to do it, or if you don't do it, this or that's going to happen to you. Learn to walk your own way. Learn to be alone. Learn to say no. And if you follow anything in life, follow your own power. Follow your mind. Ask the great power or the great mind to lead you, and it shall, whatever it is. And slow your life down a little bit, and you'll see things more clearer, and the things will speak to you more clearer and louder and straightforward, and you'll understand what's going on in life. And then you will be on your way to detaching from this system. Now, of course, we have to play the game a little bit because we are in it, but we can play the game in a very mature and smarter way. The curious one seeked the guru to gain wisdom about manifestation, and the guru was more than willing to share his wisdom with the curious one. So the curious one asked, "What are the secrets to manifestation?" And the guru proceeded to pull out a book with 5 or 6 points listed. And as he read through the points, the curious one listened very attentively. And as the guru reached the last point in the book, he hesitated and closed the book. And the curious one asked, Why did you not read the last point concerning manifestation? And the Guru answered, that, my son, remains the secret. I'm going to say something, and you fill in the blank. You ready? Here we go. In order to get something, you must first... Okay, whatever you said it. Most of you probably said or thought you have to give something. But that's not the first rule or first order of this equation. Most people leave this out and never ever think about it. Here we go. In order to get something, you must first get rid of something. You have to make place for something else. You have to make what we call space for something else. Most of us have heard of this scientific phrase that, or should I say a phrase in general, that two objects or two entities cannot occupy the same space simultaneously. But actually, the real way that we should look at this is that life cannot create something for you if you have not shown it that you have room for that thing to come into your life. Think about this for a moment. You want a couch for your living room. But until you get rid of the old couch, you can't put the new couch there. You can go and buy the couch, but you'll have to sit it somewhere else until you move the old couch. This is provided that you don't want two couches, but you get the point. So when it comes to creating and manifesting in our lives, we must show the great power, the great source or life that we believe that it can bring the new thing in our life. It's just like saying, I'm going to be happy when this or that happens, instead of you being happy prior. Because if you're not happy prior to something happening, you're not going to be happy after it happens, because what you need is proof before you can display happiness. And this is not how life works as far as bringing things into our life or manifesting things in our life. We have to show the emotion and the belief prior so that the thing that comes into our life realizes that we can be happy with or without it, if you understand what I mean. You see, life functions totally different than how we humans physically function and how we physically think. Life would say to us most of the time that you're living backwards, because life says, think from the end back to the beginning. We humans say, I'm going to think now, and how would it be then? But what life is actually telling you is to see the thing that you want to have, and I will bring it into your life. See the end, see the thing in your hand, and bring it back to now. This is called reversed reality or reverse thinking. I'm not going to get too deep into that though. So what's the takeaway from this video? Whatever you are striving for, whatever it may be, make place for it. And sometimes making place for it is not a thing external of you. Sometimes making place for things is changing your attitude, changing your manners, changing the way you think. You are making place for the new thought process so you can bring that new thing in your life. So take this with you, next time you're set out to bring something else into your life, go to where you want to be. Make place for it already now, physically or mentally, and that thing will come to you even more quicker than it would normally. Just about all of you out there are being punked constantly. You're being punked and you have no idea of it. Society is punking you. They've been punking you for quite a long time. Through religion, through politics, through school, through work, through the constant preaching and talking about this, that, or whatever. You all are being punked. For those of you who don't know what being punked means, basically it's an intimidation, laced with a trick. And you're not supposed to figure out this trick because you're focused on being intimidated. And when you are being intimidated, it just doesn't mean that someone's trying to take over you. Intimidation could be you're being fooled. You're being led to think something that's not true. But the question is, why is everyone being punked? Well, it's the distraction. You're being distracted from yourself, your true self, your real self. You're being distracted so that you don't come upon the fact that you are your own person. You're being distracted so that you don't come upon the truth that you have everything in you. And of course, in order for you not to come upon this, you have to be tricked. You have to be intimidated. You have to be fooled. You have to be punked. Back in the old days, when someone called you a punk, it meant that you were less than something. You weren't living up to the criteria that you were supposed to. And if guys were called a punk, it means that you were weak. But being a punk is not only for guys. Women and everyone else can be punked. And you have to really be on the watch out for it, because someone can give you like wonderful information. They can try to teach you or school you about certain things, but they really don't include the real important points. They don't include the important principles. And this is what our society does. For example, if you think about, like, let's say you go to school, or you go to college, you're made to pay for it so that it looks more prestigious than just any normal type of school. But ask yourself, why must you pay for an education? Why must you really pay for knowledge? So in essence, college is just a program that punks people. And for those of you who went to college, I'm not trying to talk it down. I'm not trying to make it seem bad. And this is not meant to anger anyone who has went to college. But still, if you think about it, why must you pay for an education? Because educated people are supposed to be great for the society. And one would think you would want to do that, well, actually, free. Although I know that there are those who are going to argue this and say, well, if there's a service being offered, then there should be money made from it. Well, if you're going to go that route, then actually every job that is done is a service. And the jobs should all pay very, very well. And we know that they don't do that. So this idea or that criteria is not going to hold up. But the ultimate question is, how do you get out of being punked Or how do you avoid it? Or how can you just stop yourself from being punked? Well, understand the power within yourself. Understand that you as a human, you have the solutions within yourself. Now, I'm not saying to just totally go against the grind or go against the game, because in previous videos that I've made, I said that we have to play the game to a certain extent because we're in the game, but you don't have to let the game control your whole life. And what I mean by the game is just letting other people decide things for you. Letting, as I mentioned, religion and politics and things of this sort be the main controlling part of your life. It's okay to take part in these things, but you have to understand the individual you, yourself, and you come before these things, and these things cannot decide how you live unless you give your power over to the belief that these things do as such. So the focus has got to be on yourself, one's self. And if you don't know how to focus on yourself, I always say you can ask life. Life gives us answers. Or better said, the answers and the solutions are already within us. Life helps us to bring out these solutions. And even adding the takeaway for this video, hey, realize that it's you. It's about you. You are the factor which resonates with life from the source side, so to speak. And go back to the beautiful saying, life is simple, life is wonderful, but man has many mental devices. Have you ever noticed that when someone talks about the law of attraction, they never talk about the law of attraction? They simply talk about attraction. And exactly this is how to keep hidden knowledge and wisdom for yourself, even though you do as though you are sharing the wisdom. Because if I'm going to talk about the law of attraction, there's no need for me to talk about attraction in and of itself. Years ago, there was this topic, a hot topic. I'm not gonna mention what the name of it is. It was just one word. And the law of attraction was really in. It was the trendy thing to talk about and discuss. The only thing is, no one ever talked about the law of attraction itself. In other words, what governs attraction? What brings about attraction? What is the thing that is behind attraction itself? I'm just going to talk about it on an elementary level as best I can. And to understand the law of attraction, one has to go to the subatomic level, or let's say the invisible level, things that are beyond our sight and our visual perception. And it is at this point where you start to lose people, because they have nothing that they can physically grab a hold of. But it would be very wise for you to listen to this, because this is the basis of attraction. So basically what is needed are two levels in order for attraction to take place: the invisible and the visible levels. And these two levels have to come together. So what has to take place is that there must be a physical vision placed in the invisible realm, so to speak, through our thoughts. This is why we are given thoughts. Thoughts, everyone, are a gift. It is our gift that we may delve or that we may dive into the invisible world. And you have to look at it as though to say everything is nature. And nature itself is about expansion. It's about spreading. It's about growing. So anything that involves nature, which is everything, it's going to grow. It's going to expand. And the law says, the law of reality says and is, any thought that you place in your mind into the invisible world must become visible in the physical world. There is and can be absolutely no deviating from this law. This basically is the law of attraction, explained at an elementary level. The mechanics of how and why it works don't really need to be known, because it's probably more complex than the human mind can actually understand. Or should I say the physical human can understand. Think about this for a moment. You watch a program and someone brings up the topic of the law of attraction. And all they talk about is the fact that they attracted stuff into their lives. They say what they did, but they do not tell you what is behind what they actually did. In other words, they do not go into detail. And as I mentioned before, things like this were kept for the, let's say, the elite, if you want to say, so that the normal person, I'll say, was not able to partake or enjoy of all of these wonderful attributes. We use the law of attraction all the time, in every moment. It's just that most of the time, most of us are unaware and we do it totally unconscious, and it happens and it works. But if we can tap into this law consciously, we can not only form our lives how we want it, but because we are aware of this knowledge or wisdom, we bring about a totally different conscious in our world. So what's the takeaway from this video? Well, the takeaway is simply repeating that if you look at the invisible and if you look at the visible world, these are the two meeting places. You have put a thought into the invisible world, and because nature being what it is, nature promises that this thought must crystallize in the physical world, which is why you should be very careful of what you think, things that you consider, and things that you wish for in your endeavors. And you might ask, well, are you saying that all I have to do is think something and it will come to fruition? Well, basically, yes. But what you also have to do is bring belief with it, bring trust with it, and you have to let go after you have done these things. Because how things come to fruition, I mentioned in other videos, is far beyond our human capabilities. It's not up to us to know how things come to fruition or how things, as I mentioned before, crystallize in our lives. And in ending this video, let me say this. Anytime we talk about the law of something, we're not talking about that thing itself. We are talking about the thing that brings the other thing into existence, as in laws of the universe. Then we're talking about the principle behind the action, so to speak. And just one more time, the law of attraction. Have a thought, put it into the invisible world, which is what we do anyway. And nature, being what it is, will bring that thought to the physical world, because the invisible world and the physical world are married, and the offspring of both of these worlds is the thought that you put into the invisible world, if I can say it in a simple way to make you understand it. I'm gonna leave it right there until the next video. Hey everyone, Advancing Being Mind here. Thanks for watching the video. If you want to see more content like this, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you already are subscribed, thanks for the support. Take care.